If I could sit with my 25-year-old self for just 10 minutes, great. I'm 55 years old now, and these are the things I wish someone told me when I was 25. First thing I'd tell her that you can plan as much as you want. Sometimes life does not go as it's planned. Sometimes life throws you a curveball, and I've seen many people, including myself, lose their jobs, get divorced, get cheated on, get illnesses. They were in perfect health and they still got sick. And sometimes the best thing to do is to surrender, because I notice the more you fight something, the worse it gets. And it depends on your surrender, right? If you are with the wrong person, then you need to get out. If your life's in danger, then you need to get out. If you feel like you're settling or you just don't feel right in your spirit, there needs to be a change. But sometimes people get uneasy for the wrong reasons. And so I would tell my 25-year-old self, relax. Life is not going to go as planned. And you're not always going to read from that manual, because that manual is going to be blank. And sometimes you're going to just have to accept certain things. And other times you'll be able to get through it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to accept the circumstances that you're in. I'm not saying to settle. But I'm saying sometimes people are always looking for something better. And I know from the grace of God, sometimes you have to stand still in order to see the answer. So that 25-year-old was never standing still. She was always on the go. She was always looking, looking, looking. I tell that 25-year-old self, stand still. And sometimes the answer will come. And sometimes the change will come. I would tell my 25-year-old self, stop waiting for approval from everyone. You don't need approval from anyone, not even your family. Sometimes your family, unfortunately, is your biggest obstacle. They mean good. They say they love you, but sometimes what they say doesn't translate into their actions. You just have to follow your gut. And I know some 50-year-olds that are still seeking approval from their family, approval from their mate, approval from their job. You don't need that. The only approval you need is from yourself. So that lesson would be, you don't need approval from anybody. That doesn't mean that you never listen to good advice. That means that you just have to be careful on who you get that advice from. And I'm very careful these days. I would tell my 25-year-old self to be careful with money. I mean, let's face it, if you don't got money, it's going to be harder to live. I would tell my 25-year-old self that you don't need designer clothes. You don't need makeup. You don't need to chase the Joneses. You don't need to be in the best parties. You just don't need those things. I know it's hard for somebody 25 years old to think that, but you don't. I spent so much money on things that now they're gone. I don't even remember those designer bags and outfits I wore, but my bank account does, and it set me back. So I'll tell my 25-year-old self, be careful with money, because one day you're going to need that. And you paying all this money to buy these fancy clothes and get into these nice parties, at the end of the day, is not going to mean anything if you don't have a decent bank account. So I would tell my 25-year-old to save. Be conscious of your money. You don't have to be a penny pincher, but just put a little bit more away for the future. The main thing I would tell my 25-year-old self is that you don't have to like everyone. When I was younger, I was constantly a people pleaser. I used to just people please all the time. I was afraid that if I didn't do what people liked, that they didn't like me. Now, at the age of big old 55, I really don't care whether someone likes me or not. I can't please everyone. I tried to please everyone and I ended up pleasing no one, especially myself. So now I go through life having my circle small. I used to feel like if I didn't have a big circle that I wasn't popular. And that was just the opposite. I may have had a lot of people around me, but that didn't necessarily mean that they cared about me. So now at the big old age of 55, I keep my circle small. I keep my true friends around me, and the ones that are just around to know my business or to get something from me, I keep them far, far away. Another thing I would tell my 25-year-old self that is that people are not going to like you. You can be the nicest person and somehow people will find a problem with you. I learned that the hard way. So now I would tell my 25-year-old self, tell those people to go F off. Seriously. So this one's a pretty hard one for me. I would tell my 25-year-old self, don't give more than you are receiving. Wow, that is so, so powerful. So many times I would give more than I would receive. And it's because, again, I was a people pleaser. So now I wait to see what that person does. I don't necessarily study them, but I wait to make sure that what I'm pouring into them, they're also pouring into me. So that includes relationships, that includes friendships, that includes work environments also. If I don't feel like I'm in a good work environment, I'm going to scale back, because before I would give, come in on my days off, stay late. And I was pouring into my job, but my job wasn't pouring into me. Now I have to say I do what's called quiet quitting. I do enough to stay on the job, and that's all I do. And I don't feel guilty about it at all. I would tell my 25-year-old self to give yourself some time to grow. When you're young and you're 25 years old, you think you know everything. You need to go out there, experience the world, because somehow the world is passing you by. And I would tell my 25-year-old self, the world is not passing you by. Slow down, take your time, enjoy small moments in time, because guess what? When you get my big old age at 55, small, quiet times you're going to appreciate even more. And this is a hard one for me to admit, but I would tell my 25-year-old self, don't be afraid to get old. I know, it seems for a woman like myself, age is like the curse. You'd rather be dead than be old. And you know what? I have really changed that type of philosophy, because life is so, so precious. So I tell myself, I'm happy to get old, because really older means more wisdom. Now, let me tell you, there are some people that are older and they're just as dumb as 20-year-olds. But now I find that the older I get, the more patience I have, the more wisdom I have, and the more I'm able to spot people that should not be in my life or people that I should kind of stay away from. So I would tell my 25-year-old self, more is to come. More is to come. Just because you're getting old and you're getting older as a woman does not mean that you are not desirable. Were you that girl that loved drama? How about that guy that was always wanting something crazy? Now at 55, I protect my peace, because peace is so much more valuable nowadays. And people don't really realize how valuable it is. It can make a difference between you loving life and you hating life. And there were a lot of people in my life that did not bring me peace. So were you one of those people that just loved the drama, loved the excitement, loved the arguments, loved just everything that was destructive? I don't do that anymore. I don't allow people in my life that are destructive, that are toxic, that want to gossip, that want to bring my vibration down. And when I say vibrations, people do have vibrations. You can tell if you just look at them, look at how they speak, look at how they act, look at their tone. Do they always want to come and gossip, or always want to throw you off of your vibration? No, I protect my peace now that I'm 55 years old. When I look at this picture now, I see a young woman who thought she had so much figured out. She didn't. She just didn't know yet. She didn't know how much time she'd waste worrying about what other people thought. She didn't know that some people she thought would always be there would not be there. And she didn't know that some of the things she thought were so important really weren't. And she definitely didn't understand just how fast 30 years could go by. And it's funny that I have a channel called camera confidence with Carmen, because I wasn't confident in my life at all. I was in an industry for 20 years where beauty and youth was the standard. I was a TV reporter, and every day I had to prove myself. So if you're in a situation where you're constantly trying to prove yourself, that was me all the time. And that's really why I wanted to start this channel. Yes, this channel is new, and yes, we're going to talk about being confident on camera and making videos. What I really want to do is something different, because I don't think most people have nothing to say. I think they're afraid to say it. So on this channel, we're going to use our lives, the things we've learned, the mistakes we've made, and the stories we've lived to help us become more confident on camera. Because you have something your younger self didn't have. You have a story, and somebody out there may need to hear it. You live the story, now have the confidence to tell it. If these are the type of things you also struggled with, or you are currently struggling, I would love to hear your thoughts. We can share it together. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll join me again.